listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm back. Myra is still with her father, taking care of some paperwork and other things. I'm going to talk about more of that in just a few minutes. Excuse me. I want to make sure that I thank each and every one of you for your prayers, your messages, your cards, all those things that made this a little easier for us. It amazes me the outpouring of love that folks show when a member of the family passes. And I'm going to be very blunt about this. When I was putting my notes together today, I really wasn't sure what I was going to say, and I'm still not. Okay? We just want to thank everyone for their concern, and we really, really, really appreciate it. If you haven't been to Give God 90 for a long time, or you're new here, give it a look through and see what's there. Don't forget the books are available, and quite honestly, I hope there's not another one in the future. That being said, I had an interesting conversation today with a friend of mine who happens to live in Pakistan. We were on the phone, and we were talking about the way different cultures deal with the passing of someone. And, they have their traditions and we have ours and all that good stuff. And it made me go back to a conversation I had a few weeks ago with another good friend of mine who has been serving the Almighty most of his life. He was a pastor. He's been a chaplain. He's done it all. And he eventually realized there's more to this serving God thing than either going to church or being a pastor or just, what we've been taught. And I'm going to say this very, very bluntly. There is really far more to serving God than meets the eye. Yes, we can be obedient. Yes, we can do the best we can with the information we have at the time. But still, there is more. Myra's father spoke. Of course, he's a Baptist pastor. He's been a missionary. And at the service for Myra's mother, he said something that, even though I've heard it before, it never really resonated. Basically, there came a time when he needed to go to the dean of the college they were in and convince the dean that really what Myra's mother needed more than any of the other scholastic classes was Bible. And when I heard that, I realized we all need more than that. Well, I should say that differently. That's really all we need. If we learn to understand the Bible, whether we grasp all the concepts, whether we get the message, the complete message immediately, that's a different story. what we really need, what we really should be desiring, is to hear our Creator speak. And that right there is the essence of what Give God 90 hopefully is all about. Learning to improve your life simply by doing nothing more than what your Creator is asking you to do, to live the way you are designed to live. In speaking with this friend a few weeks ago, one of the things that came up was, well, let me summarize the conversation. Believers spend a lot of time focusing on eternal life. They don't spend a lot of time focusing on living right now. And that's sad, because we have to live now. There are, and this came up from the pastor of the church who was speaking, there are denominations out there teaching that to have eternal life, you have to have faith in Jesus. That's not technically or exactly correct. And regular listeners know that I have said we are not created to be terminal beings. We are created to be eternal beings. And it is where you choose to spend eternity that makes the difference. So what I want to say is that these denominations that teach eternal life begins with Jesus are wrong. They're just flat out plain wrong. You will have eternal life. It's your choice where you have that eternal life. You've heard me say that politically and for the sake of civil law in the United States, Christians believe that life begins at conception. I'm not certain that's correct either. I will say this, that in this I am very certain, your life begins when your Creator speaks your name. When He speaks your name is written in His book. Now, if you study the Bible, you will know that He holds a scroll in His right hand. I am convinced that that scroll that He holds in His hand, that is currently sealed with 7 seals, is absolutely the book or the scroll that your name is written on when He speaks it. And for some reason, a little while ago, that something came to me that said, I need to address this. Believers spend a lot of time preparing for the afterlife. They spend very little time preparing for this life. We're great at teaching people about the afterlife, but believers are terrible at teaching people how to die. How, are you prepared? And I'm not going to get into a lot of that right now, but something happened as Myra's mother passed, she was, of course, in a care facility, and the family was there in the room. Myra and her sister, her father, myself, our daughter, and our youngest granddaughter. Now, our youngest granddaughter, being 10 years old, was sitting next to me, and it wasn't anything dramatic. It wasn't anything like you see in the movies. It never is, right? Movies are fictional. But our youngest granddaughter kind of looked at me and she's like, "Is that all there is to it?" And I said, "Yeah, that's really all there is to it." Oh. She understands now that moving from this temporal world that we live in to the next isn't a dramatic science fiction based concept. It's a concept that is based biblically. It was told to Adam. It was promised to Adam. If you sin, you will die. It's that simple. It's that simple. And because all have sinned and have fallen short of the glory of God, nobody gets out of this world alive. But there are certain promises that our Creator has made to us that basically tell us it's okay, because our Creator will take care of us. And I have had several conversations with people about this. And one of the things that continues to come up is, well, if somebody never had the opportunity to know, well, there's an interesting passage that Paul writes in Romans. And it basically says, since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, the things we can't see, but the things that we just notice, the things we just know, such as his eternal power and divine nature, are clearly seen, being understood from his workmanship, so that we are without excuse. In other words, we have no reason to fail. We don't fail. People who trust their Creator do not fail simply because we understand something the rest of the world does not. David had this understanding. In 2 Samuel verse 12, and I've used this often. And I'm going to begin reading in verse 15. After Nathan had gone home, Jehovah struck the child that Uriah's wife had born to David, and he became ill. David pleaded with God for the boy's life. He fasted, went to his house, and spent the night lying in sackcloth on the ground. The elders of the household stood beside him. They wanted to help him up, but he was unwilling. He would not eat anything with them. On the seventh day, 7 days later, the child died. But David's servants were afraid to tell him that the child was dead, for they said, "Look, while the child was alive, we spoke to him, and he would not listen to us. So how can we tell him the child is dead? He may even harm himself." When David saw the servants were whispering to one another, he perceived that the child was dead. He knew what was going on before they, just by their actions. So David asked his servants, "Is the child dead?" "He's dead," they replied. Then David got up from the ground, washed and anointed himself, changed his clothes, went to the house of Jehovah and worshipped. He went to the tabernacle and worshipped. Then he went to his own house, and at his request they set food in front of him, and he ate. "What is this that you have done?" his servants asked. "While the child was alive, you fasted, you wept. But when he died, you got up and ate." David answered, "While the child was alive, I fasted and wept, for I said, 'Who knows? Jehovah may be gracious, and let him live.' But now that he's dead, why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I can go to where he is, but he cannot return to me." And that, of course, comes from 2 Samuel 12:15 through 23. David understood. Now, there's a lot of lessons in this, okay? I mean a lot of lessons in this. But David understood that we are eternal beings. David understood something we forget, and that is the promise of our Creator. David understands his child cannot come back to him, but he has the promise of his Creator that he can go to where the child is. We read these things, and often we just read over them and don't understand. David's other son, Solomon, writes in Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verses 13 and 14. When all has been heard, when everything possible has been spoken, the conclusion of the matter is this: fear God and keep his commands. This is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment, along with every hidden thing, whether it's good or whether it's evil. Believers today have confused and confounded the sacred word of our Creator. We have twisted his word into, "Oh, I'm a good person. I know I'm going to heaven." There's a whole lot of things wrong with that statement. They were they just were a wonderful person. We know. We just know where they're going to spend eternity. There's a lot of things wrong with that statement too. Because our eternity depends upon our relationship with our Creator. Does everybody have it right or wrong? Absolutely not. nobody has a monopoly on getting it 100% right, and nobody has a monopoly on getting it 100% wrong. Unless, of course, you just flat out reject your almighty creator. Something I've thought about and wanted to do and never had the opportunity to do until now is to expand on the conversation that I had with a friend when we realized that we don't teach people how to die. We don't teach them the physical aspects of it. We don't teach them the spiritual aspects of it. And we certainly don't teach them the biblical aspects of it. So for the next couple of podcasts, that's what I'd like to do. But for tonight, as I thank everyone once again for their outpouring of love and prayers and messages, offering comfort, offering everything that they can offer, I'm going to go back to David again. And this time from Psalm 61, because this is where David basically lays it on the line. And in Psalm 61, he writes, "Hear my cry, O God. Tend to my prayer. From the ends of the earth, I call out to you. When my heart is faint, when I am overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I am. You have been a refuge to me, a tower of strength against my enemy. Allow me to live in your tent forever and take refuge in the shelter of your wings. You have heard my vows, O God. You have given me the inheritance reserved for those who fear your name. Increase the days of the king's life. May his years span many generations. May he sit enthroned in God's presence forever. Appoint your loving devotion and your faithfulness to guard him. Then I will sing praise to your name and fulfill my vows every day." If you've never heard that song, I encourage you to look it up and listen to it. Hear my cry, O Lord, attend unto my prayer. From the ends of the earth will I call out to you. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. That psalm right there is read more often in Hebrew services than the 23rd Psalm. I know the 23rd Psalm talks about, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And regular listeners will know that the 23rd Psalm I consider David's victory march. But David's plea for comfort is Psalm 61. Hear my cry. Listen to what I'm saying. I will go to the ends of the earth and call out. Because when I'm overwhelmed, when my heart is failing, I need you, my Creator, to lead me to a rock that is bigger than I am. You are my refuge. You are my strong tower. I want to live in your house. I want you to cover me. You've heard my plea. You've heard my vows. And I know. He doesn't say, if you will give me. He says, you have heard my vows, and you have given me the inheritance. You have given me what you have promised, and it is reserved for those who fear your name. That is David's plea for comfort. And that is our plea for comfort. That is our plea for understanding. That is our plea that the Almighty will keep his promise. That is not only our plea, that is our trust. That is our faith. He will keep his promise. The people who have gone on before us cannot come back to us, but we can go to where they are. And more importantly than that, the promise is when the New Jerusalem is lowered onto the new earth, we have the opportunity to live there with them. Regular listeners know I have a problem with the doctrines of the modern Christian church because they conflict with what we read in the Bible. And that's sad. Pastors are concerned that people are leaving the church, and they say people have given up on God. They have not given up on God. They have given up on the church and its false teachings. And yes, that irritates me. The very people who claim to represent the sacred word of our Creator have corrupted it. There's no comfort in modern church doctrine. There is only comfort. There's only solace. There is only trust and faithfulness in the promises that come directly from our Creator. So, on Monday, we're going to start looking at preparing to die. Well, kinda. Maybe I might call it preparing to live. So until Monday, hopefully you are prepared to live. And until then, many, many blessings, everyone.